So I have a long list of videos that I'm planning to make, and I want to take advantage of the free time I have now to work through as many of them as I can. Looking at the list, I was trying to determine what would be highest on the priority list, and one of the topics that I see mentioned quite regularly, almost daily on my channel now, is the subject of flat earth pilots. They are apparently coming out of the woodwork, and what I thought would be a good thing to do is investigate these flat earth pilots, and let's see if we can encourage one or two of them to actually come to my channel and have a friendly technical discussion on aviation topics. Now, the words research flat earth are also quite common, and there's a little logo here which I quite agree with. Research flat earth, it says condemnation without investigation is the highest form of ignorance. So people are telling me that there are flat earth pilots. Now, I've been a pilot all my life, so obviously this subject is of interest to me. So I'm going to investigate if these claims of flat earth pilots are actually real. And if you type in a search for flat earth pilot on YouTube, you will see a lot of videos like this. Now, I have watched a few, and I will reserve my opinion on these videos until we've had the chance to talk to a real flat earth pilot and given him the opportunity to express his belief and why he believes these things. But I would certainly love any genuine pilot who actually believes the earth is flat to please come to my channel. You will be met with a friendly reception. There won't be any insults from my part. I'm genuinely curious as to why you believe the earth is flat. And more importantly, from a technical perspective, I'm interested in how you do your flight planning, how you resolve the navigation techniques on long international flights, and would certainly be interested in you explaining how that works on your flat earth. Because there's a whole bunch of topics that we could discuss, and I've just created a little document here just so that we could work through it and perhaps look at some of the points that are worth discussing. So the big question is, where are the flat earth pilots? I've been told for many months that there are pilots that believe the earth is flat, and I've been asking for people to show me who these pilots are. Now, I will have to say that there have been several people who come to my channel claiming they are pilots, but unfortunately when the discussion gets technical, they disappear fast. So I'm looking for genuine pilots. If you're a real pilot, please come and let's have a mature, friendly discussion. If you're going to come to my channel and pretend that you're a pilot, I can spot a fraud a mile away, so really it's just a waste of time. So please come to my channel, let's talk flight planning, navigation, and other pilot stuff. And just for the benefit of viewers who may not be aware that there are different categories of license, I decided to just give a brief overview of the different types of pilot's license, because a person can come to my channel and say, yes, I'm a pilot, but the type of license he has will determine how much experience he has and whether he operates a small Cessna locally or whether he flies a long-range jet internationally. So let's have a look at the types of pilot's license. The first type is a student pilot's license, and that is essentially a learner's permit. You fly the small Cessnas, you fly the small Pipers. The student pilot's license is the first license. Now, after about 60 hours of training, now these numbers are general. They do vary slightly from country to country, but in Australia, it's about 60 hours of training to get your private pilot's license. That's a PPL. Now, a private pilot can fly anywhere in Australia. If you're a US private pilot, obviously you can fly anywhere within the US, and this is typical of the type of aircraft that a private pilot could fly. Basically for fun, recreation, personal travel, that's what the private pilot's license allows you to do. If we move to the next level, we have the commercial pilot's license, abbreviated to CPL. Now that takes about 200 hours of experience, training and building up hours, and It's the minimum license in many countries to get a job, and that is a Beechcraft King Air. It's under 5.7 tonnes, and different countries have slightly different regulations, but in Australia, a commercial pilot is not able to fly anything over 5.7 tonnes. That's 12,500 pounds, and the Beechcraft King Air is just under that weight. So this is about the largest aircraft you could fly as a commercial pilot. If you want to become a flying instructor, you need a commercial pilot license first. Then we move to the highest level of pilot's license, which is the Air Transport Pilot, the ATPL. Now, that requires 1,500 hours of experience. There are also additional requirements in Australia. You must have 100 hours of night flying. It is the minimum license that is required by most airlines. And if you want to become an international corporate pilot, that is also the minimum license that you require. It is the top level of license, but essentially that means if you want to fly for the airlines or you want to fly this type of aircraft, which is what I fly, this is a Bombardier Global Express, you need to have an air transport pilot's license. Now, I personally hold an ATPL in Australia, issued by CASA, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority, and I also hold an FAA ATPL. The aircraft that I usually fly is US registered, and I fly it on a US license, even though I'm based in Australia and a lot of our flight operations are domestic. With an ATPL, you need a specific type rating. So the actual type of the aircraft is stamped on your license. The Global Express, for example, is BBD 700, and there are significant annual recency requirements. Every year I have to go up to Montreal in Canada, and I spend 4 days doing recurrent training. 2 days of theory, a written exam, and then we have an oral exam, and then we have 2 days in the simulator where we practice emergency procedures and do things that you can't really train for in the aircraft without putting yourself at risk. Engine failures, high altitude, emergency descents, that type of thing. So looking at the different types of licenses, we've got the student pilot's license, the PPL, the commercial pilot, and the air transport pilot. Now, what I'd really love to do is talk to any pilots who hold this type of license, okay? Because this is the type of license you need to have significant international experience flying long range, global routes. Long range, I mean from Sydney to Hawaii, Sydney to San Diego, Sydney to Johannesburg, that type of flight. I want to meet an air transport pilot who believes the Earth is flat. And some of the points we can discuss, and I'm sorry this is going to be a little bit technical, but for any air transport pilot, this is just bread and butter stuff. The discussion points can be flight planning, route preparation, calculation of ETPs, which are equi-time points, and PNRs, which are points of no return. Now, these are critical to ensuring the safety of a long-range oceanic flight. You must know what to do in the event of an emergency. We can look at the in-flight log, the track keeping, we can discuss the North Atlantic track system, the ARINC 424 shorthand code. We can look at CPDLC and ADS systems and how they're used by your own airline and what experience you have with them. When we look at flight planning and route preparation, I have copies of basically all the flights I've done for the last 5 years, so I can certainly produce any of those flight plans quite easily. And here's an example of a flight plan. Okay, this is a flight plan from Santiago to Christchurch, New Zealand. And as you can see, there's a lot of information there, and I won't go into detail now, but certainly I'd like to discuss flight plans like this with any of the Flat Earth pilots, and we could go through every single element of the flight plan. If you're an ATPL pilot, then I'm sure you have copies of your flight plans too, and we are certainly able to use your international flight routes as discussion points. I have plenty of them, but I would certainly love to see the type of plans that you're using, and we can use those for discussion also. So let's take a bit more of a look at some of these points, okay? The ETPs and the PNRs. Essentially that means, what do we do if something goes wrong en route? Now you can see here we've got what's called drift down detail data, okay, for a depressurized divert summary. Now this is between Rio in Brazil and Cape Town in Africa. This is actually from a flight I did last year, coming back from Rio after the Olympics in August. And this is the depressurized divert summary. You can see the flight level for the depressurization is flight level 150. It shows you how much fuel you have on board at the diversion point, how much fuel you're going to have on board at the landing. And these are the type of discussion points we can look at and determine how they are calculated. And here's a similar thing for one engine inoperative divert summary. This was the same flight from Rio to Cape Town. It was non-stop over water in the southern hemisphere, and this little indication here is just showing you where the equi-time point was. And what that means is where an emergency occurs prior to this point, we would turn around and go back to Rio. If the emergency occurs after that point, we would continue on to Cape Town. We've got ARINC 424 shorthand, how the codes are put into the flight management system. We can discuss the North Atlantic track system, the concept of strategic lateral offset. You know, if you're an ATPL pilot, this is all easy stuff. It's just your bread and butter, so there should be no issue discussing any of these elements with me. We can look at CPDLC and discuss ICAO Gold and also FANS 1A. So I'm looking for ATPL qualified flat earth pilots. If you're one of them, come to my channel. You will receive a very warm and friendly reception, and let's talk pilot stuff. Looking forward to seeing you.